All my profane friends, I just got marked in this, yeah. Um, the forget me not, it so winds me up how people believe this forget me not. Yeah, I'm going to give you the Freakmasons story on the forget me not, and then I'm going to give you the true story, the real facts about the forget me not. Okay, I've done this before, but it just keeps popping up all the time. This forget me not. Do you know what I mean? As you can see, it's now being used as an advertisement again to put money in Freakmasons' pockets because they get a slice or a cut off the top. This is why they're always involved in charity, because it keeps their society going with drinks and food and upgrading their properties, for millions of pounds. And I'm talking zillions of pounds, really, you know what I mean? And they put nothing back in society. All they do is leech and parasite on our society with their charities. But anyway, here we go, okay? This is the forget me not, yeah? This is the story of how the Freakmasons put it, okay? And you can search it up. It's the same old story behind the Masonic symbol, the forget me not, yeah? And there's the blog. You can go to it yourself. It's the Grand Lodge of Ohio, right? And am I going to read it, okay? And then I'm going to tell you the real true story. All right, forget me not flowers, garden known how. From the beginning in 1933, Nazi Germany was placed severe legal, political, and civic restrictions against institutions it saw as hostile to or inconsistent with its aims and ideals, along with Jews, members of the LGBTQ plus community. I didn't even know there was an LGBTQ community in 1933. I don't even think anyone would heard of that. Do you see what I'm saying? So anyway, let's carry on. There's the first little. I wonder if there was a LGBTQ community in 1933. I don't think there was. Anyway, let's carry on. Those with mental and physical handicaps, Catholics and Jehovah's Witnesses. Freemasons were likewise targeted for criminal prosecution and exclusion from society. The Enabling Act of 1933 dissolved all Masonic lodges in the Third Reich, confiscating all property and banning members from joining the Nazi Party. A year after, the Ministry of Defence ruled that soldiers, officers and civilians personnel could not be members of a Masonic organisation, and Hitler often linked anti-Semitism to conspiracy theories about Freemasonry. Some Freemasons were political prisoners in concentration camps and were forced to wear an inverted red triangle badge, right? Now, they had to do that I don't know if that's true or not, whatever, but again, it shows you how Hitler segregated them away from profane people. Yeah. Okay, because remember, they're a society and a nation unto themselves. Okay, the Freakmasons. Okay, they're the most dangerous people to have within your community. And he knew that. He was a Freakmason himself, so he knew Freakmasons very well. He wouldn't have been a public speaker as he did, or got so well up the chain of the ranks within Germany, unless he was a Freemason in the first place. Because if you look at any town or city today, no one's in power within the town hall or a government unless they're Freakmasons, yeah. And the only people they put in power are Freakmasons. Profane people don't get put in power. Okay, so this was a Masonic war. Okay, and Hitler went for a grab, right? And like in all wars, right, yeah, when you have an enemy, regardless, like Indians, yeah, people go cowboys and Indians, but when the Indians fight, yeah, the different tribes, Sioux, the Cheyenne, the Apache, they all fought each other, yeah. Why? What distinguished them? Because they were Indians. The different names, the different lodges. You see what I mean? They lived in different lodges. Even Indians were Freakmasons, as long with the cowboys, yeah. And if you do the research, you'll find they had on the battlefield a Masonic sign that would be brothers. Put an Indian with with a cowboy, and they would be brothers. Yeah, that's why you always hear about it. A cowboy and an Indian being brothers, because they were brothers. They were Masonic. Yeah, do the research on it, and you'll find they had a Grand Halen sign. So when they fight, they would help each other and be brothers. Yeah, so that's why they lived in lodges. Yeah, and lodges, if you look at it and go back and research it, the centre of your village or your town was the lodge. Yeah, where the main people in the community met, and then they would decide what the village would do. And that's what the Freemasons still do today in their fucking lodges, right? Now, before I lose my train of thought, so anyway, the Apaches were separated. Apaches, the Cheyenne, the Chickasaw, and all of that sort of thing. Yeah, so they're all segregated, but they were all Indians. Do you see what I mean? But they all fought each other, and they were enemies. Do you know what I mean? And that's the same thing with bloody Freemasons, right? You've got to get that free. You've got red lodges, you've got blue lodges, okay? You've got black lodges, you've got white lodges, okay? You've got this family and that family and that particular family and that particular family that all show allegiance to each other. And when they fall out, yeah, they fight each other and they're enemies. And that's what happened during Hitler's reign. Yeah, he knew the Freemasons that he was fighting were his enemy. Yeah, so he wasn't persecuting them at all. They were just his enemy. Do you know what I mean? But they were his main enemy, because it was a Masonic war, Freemasons fighting Freemasons. Yeah, and the only people that were doing the fighting on the main trenches and all the rest of it, yeah, because all the higher uppers, like the captains and everything, were Freemasons. Everyone else who was in the trenches doing the main fighting were all profane men that were tricked into fighting for these Freemasons. Do you see what I mean? And that's all it is. That's war for you. But anyway, let's carry on. All right. So that's a bit of an explanation there, right? Right, concentration, and were forced to wear an inverted red triangle. The SS dedicated, now remember the SS, how powerful they were, and the Gestapo, right? The Gestapo and the SS were top ranking Freemasons, okay? And they knew exactly what they were doing. Right, anyway, dedicated 2 separate officers towards pursuing Masonic organisations and Freemasons. This would continue into the war and into the countries under German control, such as France and Italy. Right, now, how many Freemasons do you think were in France and Italy? Do you see what I mean? And within Germany and any other country. Do you see what I mean? Because it was a Masonic war. Every war is Masonic. Do you know what I mean? And that's what the fight's about. It's not about profane people. You know what I mean? It's about the rich elite families at the top trying to vie for power. And Hitler went for it. Do you know what I mean? He knew that if he took all the Freemasons out in every town and city, yeah, then that city would fall and that town would fall, because the main strong dominant force within that town and city, if he captured them people, that would fall. Do you see what I mean? Because the profane, that are the sheep that get led, are led by the most powerful dominant force within any town or city. Do you see what I mean? So that's why he persecuted them, because they were his enemy, not because of any other reason, because they were Freemasons or anything else. They were just his enemy, same as like the Indians and the Sioux. The Apache attacked the Sioux, not because they were bloody Indians or whatever or anything, but it's just that they were a different nation of the same nation of people. They were just a different tribe, and that's what we're talking about, tribes here, different tribes of people, blah blah blah. If you do the research, you'll know. Some of you'll know what I'm on about straight away, and maybe put the dots together straight away anyway. But that's what that's about, okay? Now, this is where it gets, this is where the big lie from Freemasons come in a minute. Watch this. The most popular charges against Freemasons by the Nazis were conspiratorial and anti-Semitic. They linked Masonic organisations to communism, the international press, and the Jewish population. Nazis spread disinformation through party newspapers, literature, in speeches, and through propaganda museum exits. For example, mock lodges displays were set up with skeletons in Masonic regalia alongside Jewish symbolism. Right now, again, right, it doesn't matter if you're Jewish. I shouldn't be saying that. They wouldn't like stop the video. Jewish. It doesn't matter if you're Jewish, Muslim, a Protestant, a Catholic, or whatever. Freemasons are all amongst it. Yeah, they're infiltrated everything. Yeah, but and it don't matter if you're Muslim, Jewish, whatever. If you're not on that particular lodge side, yeah, or that particular gang of Freemasons, then they're going to persecute you, they're going to get you, and they're going to take you because you're not on their side. So anyone that Hitler went after was just an enemy, and it wasn't on their side. It wasn't a particular, they were just the main. He was just taking out Freemasons. That's basically what he did. He didn't persecute them or anything else. He just took out the main people that were Freemasons within them societies. Do you know what I mean? Because he knew they controlled everything. They controlled Europe, they controlled Asia, they controlled, Africa, all the rest of it. Because again, if you do the researchers, that and it goes back right to the north and the fight, the fighting in the north and the south. You'll find behind any war, and you look for who's responsible for that. The town people that were putting out the word, "Oh, join the army" and all this crap, is all the Freemasons. Like I said, the most dominant people, yeah, that controlled the population within a town or a city, yeah. And that's what he did. He just took like this picture here. He's saying this is what they built up. But if you take a good look at the altar and you understand that, yeah, if you look at the two diamonds, right, on the left and the right, yeah, I don't know how I could how to show you, because I don't know how to do it unless I save the picture. Let's say, for the instance, the skeleton, right, you've got one above, one below, two dots, yeah. If you go three dots, yeah, above and three below, you end up with a square and compass, right? And that leaves the dots that are left on the left and the right is a diamond. You see the diamonds? You see what I'm saying? And then you count the other two, that give you the 6. See, so basically it's 666 across that altar. You see what I mean? And they're not doing this because they're, you got to imagine they're doing this. There's Freemasons here that are saying they're doing this in spite. They didn't do it in spite because what they took from the lodges, yeah, and they knew themselves, right, yeah, is that they did this. You go to any Masonic lodge, you'll find a skeleton, a head. Do you know what I mean? They get the corpses from their undertaker buddies. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. They've got, they got skeletons and real bodies, yeah, like entombed, and they use it in Masonic ritual. So why they're saying, where are they getting these skeletons from? The skeletons are already in every Masonic lodge across the world. Do you see what I mean? So again, that's another lie from Freemasons. Do you see what I mean? And again, if you know 232 and you've got the star above here with the G in it, you'll know how it arrives to that, with the 3 steps in Freemasonry, the 5 steps in Freemasonry. Do you know what I mean? Blah, blah, blah. And the subtotal of that star with the G in the centre is 13. Okay, so that's just that. You know what I mean? So they're saying, oh, we've got no skeletons and we've got no skulls in our lodges. But if you do the research, they've got skulls and skeletons all across the world in their lodges that they use for Masonic ritual. Yeah, they have one in every chamber of a reflection room. Do you know what I mean? So they're talking rubbish again. This is where the lies come, you see. Now we get into the real nitty gritty of the forget-me-not, okay? Now this is what they want you to believe, okay? I think this is the part. If it ain't, we'll carry on and then we'll get to it. Right, in 1934, members of one of Germany's pre-war Grand Lodges, Grand Lodge of the Sun, began wearing the blue forget-me-not instead of the square and compass, okay? Here it is, on their lapels as a secret mark of identity. Okay, now listen to this. So they're wearing the forget-me-not, okay, on their lapels, right, as a secret to their identity that they're against the Freemason Germans. Okay, the forget-me-not is the informal name for the myosotis flower, known for being small in having blue or purple petals. Throughout this whole era, these flowers appeared on lapels across cities. This is what they want you to believe. Believe me, listen to this, look. These flowers appeared on lapels across cities and even concentration camps. Right? Now, you imagine some poor person, right, in a camp is walking around with one of these flowers on their lapel, walking past an SS or a Gestapo German, and he's gone, oh, what a lovely little lapel No, he's gone, where the F did you get that? And then he's going to torture him and see what the figure's going on with that lapel pin. Do you see what I'm saying? So what they also want you to believe, right, and I'll get to that in a minute, right, known for being small, throughout this era, flowers appeared on lapels across cities, concentrations on brothers whose love for the craft remained strong, even in the worst of times. In 1947, when the Grand Lodge of the Sun was reopened, the pin in the shape of a forget-me-not was adopted as an emblem of the first convention by those who survived the Nazi era. It then was also adopted as an official Masonic emblem, honouring those brothers who dared to wear the flower openly, and also recognises the contributions of Masonic educators. Now you imagine that they're now walking around, yeah. Okay, every Freemason is being persecuted according to these. They're now walking around with these lapels, right? Yeah, now don't forget, these Gestapos and SS know how to recognise a Freemason. They know the signs themselves because they're Freemasons, okay? Right? So they've got to be very careful when they're given the signs or the Grand Halen signs and getting one back, okay? So they're shitting themselves anyway. That's why all the Freemasons in Britain went underground, yeah? And were cautious and caution, yeah? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, that's why they shit themselves, the Freemasons, and went underground in Britain. So do you really think that the Masonic Germans and whatever else were walking around their cities, their towns, with these forget-me-nots, with the Gestapo and the SS walking around, that would then directly put their whole family, yeah, in crisis? Because they don't just arrest you, they arrest everyone around you and send you all to the concentration camp. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. So they got you believing, and millions and thousands of other people, this story that these people were so brave, they had that on their lapels, risking the lives, right? Yeah, that they would all get put into concentration camps. No way, no one wore these, especially in concentration camps. You know, can you imagine oh, see, I'm trying to say the word, but see, if I say Jew, they bloody do you, don't? But you imagine a thingy in a man in a concentration camp wearing one of these, yeah, yeah, in a concentration camp wearing one of these, and what? They're not going to question that or torture whoever wears one, and they weren't aware. They wouldn't be fully aware that these people were wearing these things. This badge here. Come on, man. Do you know what I mean? No, ultimately, Adolf Hitler was unsuccessful in eradicating Freemasonry in Germany and beyond. While temples were destroyed, property confiscated and burned, and Masons imprisoned and murdered, the mysteries of Freemasonry are the core principles of brotherly love, relief, truth survived unpaired in our brothers' hearts. Masonic organisations promptly rebuilt following the Nazi era, and once again to thrive in the face of adversity and hardship. You know what I mean? Well, they've done really well building themselves up, didn't they? Because they own all the buildings again. They own all the governments again. You know what I mean? But again, the governments that won, yeah, the families, yeah, because we're just talking about Masonic gangs, you know, like back in the day, just knights, yeah, you know, they just didn't ride horses this time, they were on tanks, do you know what I mean? They just had tanks, you know, and shit like that. So it was just one Masonic army fighting another Masonic army, and it was different families, do you know what I mean? And that's all it was, do you know what I mean? Lords, dukes and earls, again, fighting over land and property, and and Hitler just went for world domination, do you know what I mean? Yeah, and he failed, of course, because all the other families that were Masonic were going, shit, we can't have this, we've got to fight. So they rallied everyone else up, all the profane, to do their fighting. You know what I mean? And that's what it's all about. You know what I mean? There's more to it than that, obviously. But if you honestly believe these Freemasons were walking around, yeah, you know, these whoever, yeah, because like I said, it ain't just specific to the Jews or whatever. There was Muslims, you know, whatever, Catholics and all sorts, yeah, all infiltrated already by Freemasons, you know what I mean? But they were the core of every town and city, and that's why he rounded them up first. Do you know what I mean? Because they were the key to running and controlling that town. And all he did when he took them out, his enemy, Yeah, he just replaced him with his own Freemasons. Do you know what I mean? And that's all what happened. He just replaced them with his own Freemasons that were SS and Gestapo. Do you know what I mean? Or whatever. You know, and his own family members and the people he trusted. Do you see what I mean? And that's all it was. You know, like I said, you know, you can have a group of Indians, different Comanches, Chippewa, Chickasaw, or whatever their different names are, different tribes, because that's what you're talking about, different tribes, different families, do you know what I mean? Same as over here, you know, you've got different tribes, you know, like gypsies, you know, gypsy travellers, you know, the G travellers, yeah, you know what I mean? They, again, have different tribes, different families, but they're always at war with each other. But if you try attacking them, they'll all come together against you. Do you know what I mean? And that's what it's about. It's the same fucking thing in life with everything. Do you know what I mean? It's different sects, different people jostling for power, and that's it. But if you believe they wore these in concentration camps like that, and the Germans see it and didn't question that, a Nazi SS man what are you doing with that flower on your lapel? And then you got the other Freemasons walking around German, you know, hundreds of these fucking lapels going, yeah, you know, cool in the gang, we're in support of the British forces, you know, we're in support of, you know, do you see what I mean? How crazy that sounds, you know what I mean? We're now wearing these lapels, yeah, and they're not questioning it, and the Germans weren't aware of it as they're torturing them and whatever else. Come on, and they're putting their own family. Yeah, I'll wear this. So I'm now going to put my family and everyone else I know in jeopardy because I'm wearing a little lapel pin. Come on, mate, let's wake up. You know what I mean, my profane friends? Remember, everything about the Freemasons are the lie. The biggest liars, corrupt, gang stalking, drug dealing, perverted, gang raping, nonce cases on the planet. You know what I mean? And they're not good, they're not friendly. You know what I mean? I've been riding my bike, right? I just got a letter, right? I was riding a bike, you know what I mean? No MOT on it because they didn't put an MOT on my bike. Do you know what I mean? So even though I specified that I wanted an MOT, the people didn't put an MOT on my bike, though I thought I had an MOT on it. You know what I mean? And now I put it in the garage, my van, and I've been running with no oil. They haven't put no oil in my van. Do you see what I mean? They're trying to stop me from travelling. Do you know what I mean? So they're doing all these little dirty tricks. I've even got like part of the van swinging around in the van. I don't even know what it is. Do you know what I mean? This pipe or whatever. So I've got to hand that back in. It's madness, mate, what they do to me. I'll tell you. Oh, yeah. Anyway, that's a story coming. Like I said, the more evidence I gain, the better it is for me. So anyway, my profane friends, the forget-me-not. Yeah, I walked around German Nazi and in concentration camps wearing this lapel and the SS and the Gestapo. Never questioned it. Yeah, right. You talk shit, you Freemasons. Anyway, have a great day, my profane friends. Like I said, look beyond the box, what they try and entrap you in. You know what I mean? And think about what they say and what they do in everything, because it's always a fucking lie. You know what I mean? Like I said, cowboys and Indians, they were Freemasons. Yeah, do the research. You see what I mean? But they don't tell you that. Do you know what I mean? And all they did, it was the cowboys that were Freemasons, yeah, just wiped out another lodge. Yeah, what were the Indians? Yeah, and they wiped them out. And that's all they did. And they've done that all the time. They just wipe each other out. Different families, different sets, vying for power, different tribes, do you know what I mean? With lodges, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? So that, like I said, on the battlefield, they always got the advantage because they can put up a sign that stops them getting bombed, stop them getting shot at. Everything else is all above you because you haven't got that. And that's why you always die in wars, because you haven't got it. You know what I mean? They always survive. Anyway, have a great day, my profane friends, and do the research. Think outside the box what these Freemasons say, because it's never ever the truth.